The pilgrims laughs heartily at the miller's bawdy tale, but Oswald the Reeve alone is angry, as he was once a carpenter, like John, the fool in the miller's story. The Reeve then claims that despite his age, he is still cunning and that boasting, lying, anger, and greed are traits of the elderly. The host interrupts this bitter monologue, urging the Reeve to tell his tale. If he must speak, the Reeve promises to answer the miller and make a fool out of him. He will tell a tale about how a miller was tricked, thus quitting the miller's tale. In Trumpington near Cambridge, a miller named Simpkin lived by a brook. Simpkin was a dishonest thief who often cheated the King's Hall, a Cambridge college, by stealing meal and corn. He was also ostentatious, wearing flashy clothes and carrying multiple weapons, including a cutlass, a small dagger, and a Sheffield knife. Simpkin was bald with a round face and a flattened nose. His wife came from a noble family and was as proud as she was haughty. They had a 20-year-old daughter and a 6-month-old son. 2 Cambridge students, John and Elaine, received permission from the college master to oversee the grinding of their corn at Simpkin's mill. They were determined not to let the miller cheat them. When they arrived, they told Simpkin they were there to grind their corn and take it back to the college. While their corn was being ground, Simpkin secretly let their horse loose. When the clerks finished, they found their horse missing. In their frustration, they forgot about their corn. Simpkin's wife claimed the horse had run off to the fen, and the clerks ran off to find it. Meanwhile, Simpkin took half a bushel of their flour and instructed his wife to bake a loaf of bread. The clerks spent hours chasing their horse and finally caught it in a ditch near nightfall. Exhausted and wet, they returned to the mill and begged for help. Simpkin, feigning hospitality, offered them a place to stay, albeit in a cramped space. He served them ale, bread, and a roast goose for dinner. Simpkin made a bed for them in his own room, just 10 or 12 feet from his and his wife's bed, with his daughter also sleeping in the same chamber. At midnight, the miller's family fell into a loud drunken sleep. Elaine, kept awake by the snoring, nudged John and resolved to have revenge by sleeping with the miller's daughter. Despite John's warning not to wake the miller, Elaine went to the daughter's bed and spent the night with her. Jealous of Elaine, John decided to have his own fun. He moved the baby's cradle from the foot of the miller's bed to his own. When the miller's wife woke up to use the bathroom and returned in the dark, she felt for the cradle and finding it at the foot of John's bed, climbed in beside him. John then took advantage of the situation. As morning approached, Elaine learned from the miller's daughter where the bread made from their stolen corn was hidden. He returned to the bed, felt for the cradle, and mistakenly thought it signified the miller's bed. Thinking he was in the wrong bed, Elaine moved to the next one and crept in beside the miller. Believing he was speaking to John, he whispered about how he had spent the night with the miller's daughter. Enraged, Simpkin grabbed Elaine by the neck and punched him. The 2 men fought fiercely, rolling on the floor, until Simpkin tripped and fell onto his wife. The miller's wife, thinking a devil had attacked her, screamed for help. John woke up and tried to find a weapon, but the wife, familiar with the room, found a stick first. In the dim light, she mistook Simpkin for one of the clerks, and hit him hard on the head. Simpkin cried out in pain, and the clerks seized the opportunity to beat him. They quickly dressed, took their horse, their corn, and the loaf of bread, and escaped. The Reeve concludes his tale with a proverb: one who does evil should not expect good. He then blesses the company and notes that he has now quite the miller in my tale.